second thing is that they should have given you cool front seats, because this is going to compete in a segment where rivals like the Nexon, the Kia Sonet are offering you cool front seats. So they should have offered you cool front seats. And the switchgear over here, the buttons over here for the power windows, they've been around for the last 2 decades, I think, since the Swift came out. Well, if you are always confused and a little tense about the backseat experience on compact SUVs because they don't offer the best back seats, then all that confusion and tension is taken care of with the Fronx. This car offers you better backseat experience and better space than all its rivals. Which are the rivals? Well, the Tata Nexon, the Maruti Brezza, its own sister, the Hyundai Venue and the Kia Sonet. This car offers you better space and comfort in the back seat, that's for sure. That's a big positive and why you should consider buying this car over all those rivals. But there's also a small negative, and that is that there's no sunroof, even as an option on this car. All the other rivals do offer a sunroof. Well, so if you are someone who wants a very aggressive looking SUV, then the Fronx definitely is a very good looking car. From the front end, it resembles the Vitara, and that's not a bad thing because this car's looks mimic the Vitara, especially the big grille up ahead as well as that headlamp treatment. That's something which a lot of customers will appreciate. You'll also like the back end design, especially that entire beam of light which connects both the tail lamps. It looks very special and very different. In fact, this car really looks very well balanced as well. If you see it from the side profile, it looks very well balanced, and just as a package, I think the Fronx definitely looks like a proper and aggressive compact SUV. Well, so now I'm driving the Maruti Suzuki Fronx, and today I'm driving the Booster Jet. Yes, I'm driving the Booster Jet, which a lot of people are keen to know how it performs because we've already seen the performance of the 1.2 on the Baleno. So this one is a new engine. I mean, it's been there, the Baleno RS, but this one feels completely different to that engine because it's refined. It's very quiet, and even when you drive it hard, it doesn't vibrate, it doesn't trouble you inside. So Maruti engineers done a fantastic job with the packaging of this engine and bolting it on to this car. It really does feel very good and supremely refined. What you'll also like about the car is the fact that when you're driving it up the hills, you know, like we have been driving it around today within the city limits and on tight and twisty Goa roads, even then this car feels quite good and very agile. The suspension setup definitely works very well on this car, and yes, you might say that how is it different to the Baleno? There's a big difference. The suspension on this car has been stiffened up quite a bit. The suspension components are different, so that also makes a big difference because remember this car is heavier than the Baleno by about 75 kilos. So definitely that stiffened up suspension works in its favor, especially if you're a highway person. If you're driving on the highway, you're doing speeds in excess of 100 kph, you'll definitely enjoy the overall driving experience of this car. On the highway, it feels very stable, it feels very reassuring, and definitely offers you a sense of confidence which you won't really get on some other car at this price point if you go over 100 kph. What you'll also like is the fact that the gearbox, the manual version, works very well. It's a typical Maruti Suzuki gearbox. The throws are very short, the clutch action is nice and light, and that combined with the steering wheel is also something quite good. Now the steering wheel is much different to the one on the Baleno, and the reason for that of course is that this steering wheel has a lot more weight in it. Yes, it feels a lot more weightier, and definitely that's something which a lot of people will appreciate because this car just feels a lot more confidence inspiring, especially when you're pushing around bends and corners, because it does have very good dynamics. And of course, as I said, because the suspension has been stiffened up, if you push into corners, there's very limited body roll. It's always under control. And unlike the Baleno, which tends to dive around a bit when you really brake hard and push in corners, this one feels much more agile and definitely feels a lot more sure-footed than the Baleno. So yes, we shouldn't really compare with the Baleno because it's a different car. Only the platform is the same, but since you know it's the same platform, then there are going to be some comparisons being made with that very successful car. What you'll also like is the fact that, as I said, the engine doesn't really make a noise. Yes, it isn't as responsive in the lower end of its power band because it's turbo. So around 1400, 1500 RPM, it feels a little lethargic and a little lackluster in terms of performance. But once you cross that RPM figure, once you go to about 1500 RPM, this engine becomes really very responsive. The part delivery is very crispy, and once you rev it up all the way up to 4,500, 5,000 RPM, it just delivers very good power. And even though the red line is 6,000, I will not take it all the way to 6,000 because then it becomes a little fuzzy. But normally, people don't drive like that. People drive within 2,000 to 3,500 RPM mostly. And in those RPM figures in that bracket, it really does offer you very punchy performance. The overall fuel efficiency is claimed to be about 21 for the turbo and about 24 plus for the 1.2. So I believe those figures because Maruti Suzuki, whenever they give out figures, the actual on-road performance is very similar, comes very close to those figures. The only big issue I have with this car is that side view mirrors are really tiny and small, and I think Maruti Suzuki engineers should change them and give you bigger ones and better ones because they're just the same ones as the Baleno, and they don't really offer you very good depth of field. So you have to look around like this, move your neck around, move your body around to see and be doubly sure that there isn't somebody behind you. So that's the only issue, and I think that they should have changed on this car. But other than that, as I said, as package, I think they've done a very good job. Well, gentlemen, it's at the cabin of the all-new Fronx. I'm sure you've already seen this cabin and these interiors before in a lot of videos because this car has been showcased for quite a lot since the Auto Expo. But again, I'll give you a revision course. How is it different to the Baleno? Well, you of course get a different color scheme over here. You get this very dark brown, or you can call it burgundy, whichever color you want to call it. That's the big difference. But apart from that, it's exactly the same scheme of things that you get on the Baleno, and you get the exact same features as well. So you get the same cruise control, same HUD, same bird's eye view camera, ESP, and of course automatic headlamps there as well. And in the base version gets this climate control feature. So those are nice things. Now the positives, there are quite a lot of positives. Seat comfort is generally very good on this car, and Maruti Suzuki seems to really make very nice seats. The cushioning, the padding, support for your lower back, these bolsters, everything adds up. And of course you also get this small box away where you can keep these small water bottles, and just about they fit over there and you can easily lock it up. And of course the top bins are large enough to house those big 1 liter bottles. Now there are a couple of areas where I think Maruti Suzuki should have changed a few things. The side mirrors in particular are still very small. They're just the ones on the Baleno. So that's a feedback that I'll have to give them, that the side mirrors could have been changed. That's one thing. Second thing is that they should have given you cool front seats, because this is going to compete in a segment where rivals like the Nexon, the Kia Sonet are offering you cool front seats. So they should have offered you cool front seats. And the switch gear over here, the buttons over here for the power windows, they've been around for the last 2 decades, I think. Since the Swift came out in 2005, these power window buttons haven't been changed. So I think they should have changed this as well to just give you a slightly different feeling compared to the hatchback version, because this is the SUV and this is going to sell against very well established rivals. So I think these are few changes because they've done a great job. Maruti Suzuki has done a great job with the looks on the outside. I think these small changes on the inside would have really helped and given a big boost to the overall feel as well as the ambience of the cabin. But anyways, they've not done that. We can't really blame them because they also are the masters of cost cutting. So that's the way it is. What is the score? I'll give it a strong score of 8 out of 10. Now let's see how the back seat is of this car. Well, so here I'm now in the back seat of the new Maruti Suzuki Fronx. Now, as I said in my intro, knee room and headroom is generally good, and this is a very comfortable car. So you get plenty of place over here. 3 occupants can easily sit because it's quite nice and wide, and there's genuinely good seat comfort because the seat cushioning is quite good. So no issues whatsoever in that department. But what you will like to have had in this car is the fact that you would have really preferred to have a central armrest over here, because this car competes with the likes of the Nexon, the Sonet, as well as its own sibling, the Brezza. So all those cars have an armrest. That would have really been a big positive, but I think you have to still manage to live without it, because you can appreciate the space that Maruti Suzuki has offered. You get a USB, old school, and USB Type-C, small place over here to keep your cell phone, and of course the obligatory AC vents at the back, and the windows also are nice and large, so you definitely get a sense of airiness inside this cabin. Anyways, I'll give it a good score of 9 out of 10. Well, so let's quickly talk about the boot of this car. Will this boot be enough to carry all the luggage when your mother-in-law comes in? Definitely. It's quite a big and substantial boot. It's not in the same league as the Nexon because that has 350 liters, or either even the Brezza, because this is slightly behind the Brezza as well. But in isolation, this is quite good, and at par with some other cars. You can easily load in 3 big bags of this size, and maybe fourth will also squeeze in, and 2 large pieces of suitcase will easily accommodate. Of course, there's a big sill, so you have to use your back and put those things in and out. But in honesty, I think for the shape and size of this car, the boot is more than respectable. Well, so the big question is that should you consider buying this car over the Baleno, or is it just a Baleno with a little more attitude, a little more styling, cosmetic changes on the outside? To be honest, it's not a Baleno, it's a different car. It drives very differently from that car, and definitely the 1-liter turbojet with the automatic gearbox is a great little package for keen drivers, so that's the one I would go for. It's also got its own strengths. You get very good space in the back seat, and that's something which no other compact SUV can match in terms of overall comfort as well as space in the back seat. So if that's something you want and that's important to you, definitely go ahead and book this car. The interiors, well, I wish Maruti Suzuki had added some more features and maybe changed the layout and design a little bit, not too much but a little bit, just to give it a little swag factor on the interior, because the exterior looks really nice, but the interior also could have been doped up a little bit more to give it that extra bit of jazz. But that said, it is quite a good package, and definitely you should keep it on the top of your short list if you're in the market for a compact SUV. Don't ignore it. Because this is a very capable product. Is it better than the Brezza? We'll only be able to answer that when we do a full comparison video review of the Brezza with this car. So do subscribe to our channel if you want to know all about that as well. So bye for now, and thanks so much for watching this video.